What's up, guys? It's Branden Flash. Today we're taking my Rivian R1T all the way out to the eastern coast of North Carolina, going off of the Electrify America network, off of the 100+ kilowatt networks. And it's gonna be a long day. We're doing about 600 miles. We're heading out from Charlotte. I'm unplugging here. We're at 100% charged up at my apartment. We added 49.4 kilowatt hour in 12 and a half hours. Completed around like 2 or 3 a.m. Let me show you we're at 100%, and I'll show you our first stop. So there we are, we're at 100%, 270 miles estimated in all-purpose mode. You can see that here. I'm gonna leave it in all-purpose mode for now because the first stop is not that far away. That's about 130 miles away, Lumberton, North Carolina, off of 95 there. But we're headed all the way out to New Bern. We're headed to spot over here, we're headed, so there we have 100% charge, 270 miles estimated in all-purpose mode. I'll switch it into conserve when we actually need to conserve. But first stop is going to be in Lumberton, North Carolina. We've got some stops along I-95 here. Then we're headed all the way out to New Bern on the Outer Banks East, or Eastern Outer Banks, whatever. We're headed up this direction, and then we'll head back to Charlotte. So that ends up being about a 610 mile route. I'll show you in more detail once we get to Lumberton, but let's hit the road because it's going to be a long day. Resetting my trip here so that we have stats after today. And there you can see we're at just shy of 9,000 miles on the odometer. Just flipped it into conserve mode, so bumped up to 93%, and so far we've driven 18.7 miles, 1.96 miles per kilowatt hour, so expecting that to go up a bit in conserve. And as we're just cruising along here on 74. Just exiting here in Lumberton. It's at a Walmart, of course. We've got a Starbucks here, I think is what I just saw. So maybe I'll order and segue over there or something. We're at 44%. I'll update you once we plug in. Over there is the supercharger that I've charged at multiple times. Well, I was just gonna use number 4 there, the 150 kilowatt, because I really don't need full power, not low enough that it will make really much of a difference at all, 44% there. But I noticed that this one is on complimentary sessions, so I'm certainly not going to turn down free charging rather than paid charging. Got my pin there. Hopefully this charges at a reasonable speed, even though it's complimentary, and hopefully they just didn't change it off of complimentary. But let's see how this goes. We'll let it ramp up. Check out it's connecting, that's good. What size transformer we've got here. Got 1000 kVA transformer, so pretty well sized for this site. Can supply all the power. This is a Signet site, so we've got the 4 units as usual. We have the CCS Chatamo 150 kilowatt unit. That one is not on complimentary session. We have this one, which appears to be completely down. I did see that one of them was down on the app. Then we have this one, looks like we're maybe charging. Complimentary, we like that. Continue. Give that a second. And then here we have the 150 kilowatt unit, also not on complimentary. Let's see how our charging speeds are going. 150 plus kilowatts, so that's exactly what I would expect. Fantastic, cannot complain about that. Well, we were just chugging along here, and then it dropped to 43 kilowatts, so going to stop the session here. Glad I was in the car here just working on some work emails and going to swap cables. Let's see how much power we at it? 16.646 kilowatt hour in 5 minutes. Not bad, but want it to continue at a good speed. So let's try this other cable. Man, these cables take a lot of force to twist. That is not easy to use at all. Gotta clean my windshield here before we go. I slammed it down into lowest so that it was a little easier to reach the whole windshield. Let's see. Let's try this again. Wasn't ready to start a new session. Connecting to vehicle. Hopefully it works this time. We'll see in a moment. That's good, starting. I need to look on a better route planner to see how much we need to charge for the stops that we're doing, but I think we have to charge up to like 90+%, which is unfortunate. Initiating charging still on the screen there. So we should have power shortly. In theory. There we go. Hopefully that ramps up rather quick. Otherwise I will have to move stalls. Well, that's more like it. Should go up to 100 plus. Actually, should still be like 150 or so, I believe. So that looks pretty good to me. I'll definitely keep an eye on it, and hopefully that stays. Yeah, 200 kilowatt. Cannot complain about that. 215, nice. Man, some of the things you see in rural North Carolina at a Walmart, pretty cool. Went into Walmart, used the restroom, got some Power Crunch protein energy bars. They're actually pretty good. Also ordered some Starbucks because we're charging painfully slow right now at 25 kilowatt at 94%. Rivian top charging is downright terrible. But going to leave in probably 5 minutes or so, give them a moment to make my Starbucks so I'm not waiting over there, not charging for my Starbucks. Then we're gonna head out. We're heading north up I-95. We have stops in Dunn and in Hope Mills. And there's it's either 50 or 62.5 kilowatt charge point right near one of my stops. So I might stop there just for like 5-10 minutes when we're in Hope Mills. At least that will be faster than the 25 kilowatt we're getting currently. Well, charge up to 96% there. And here's our stats from that first leg, 125.9 miles. And that's our next stop. And then you'll see the charge point right there, just right up the street. And then we're headed to Dunn, which is up here. And then we're headed, I believe it's New Bern, then Wilson or something like that. I need to look at my list of places to go, and then we'll head through Raleigh and then back on the way back to Charlotte. We'll see how this goes in the Starbucks drive-thru. Hopefully I don't screw myself over with a long wait. Well, they didn't have my sugar plum Danish that I liked, but they did have my strawberry acai refresher. So got a lemon loaf instead, and now let's get on the road. And exiting for my first stop here in Hope Mills. Just finished up in Hope Mills, and then we're gonna head to the charge point, just check it out. It looks like it's actually in use right now, and we don't really need to charge based on what I put into a better route planner. But it's actually on a frontage road of sorts on the way out of here and on the right direction. So I'll check it out and see, just for my own reference in the future. And we're off to Dunn and then Warsaw. Cool spot, actually. Looks like it's a craft cocktail place. And we have an ID4 doing ID4 things and taking up chargers. Of course, luckily I don't need to charge, but it's there, it exists. And we'll continue on, so no big deal at all. Don't need to charge, we're at 88%. Made it to Dunn, North Carolina. We're just pulling off right now. And then we'll hit the road again to Warsaw. Well, just finished here in Dunn. We're done in Dunn. See what I did there? Now we're headed to Warsaw. Let me show you that. So here we are in Dunn. We were down there in, what is that? Hope Mills. There's Lumberton. So we're headed to Warsaw, and then we're headed to New Bern over here. So we're getting close to the coast. And we've made it to Warsaw, North Carolina, almost to the coast, and then we're headed off to New Bern after this. Well, just leaving, where are we now? Warsaw. We're headed to New Bern, and let me just show you the route here. So we currently have 182 miles, 61%. We have 79 miles to go. Let's just see what this charger is out of curiosity. I think I may have already looked. So I'm gonna look at that one actually on PlugShare, just to see if it's reasonably priced or not, because we're actually going to Wilson next after that, and that's about 90 miles. So we're cutting it a little bit close. There is a charger in Wilson, but it's overpriced, so I'm gonna see if this one's more reasonable, and if it is, we'll stop there instead and just top off probably 15%, I'd say. Well, it seems that this charger is so new that it's not even on PlugShare. And it also appears to be free. So I think we're gonna stop there first, and then we'll head to New Bern. Just wanna swing through the superchargers here at Smithfield's. It's 3 prefab PSU or prefab supercharger units. So 12 stalls. I just wanna see how they installed them over here. One vehicle using them. Nice little bench there. Actually a pretty nice setup here. They definitely could have done pull through here if they wanted to, but I just want to get out and take a look here and see how it's set up. So you've got transmission lines up here, you have distribution lines down here. Looks like the 3-phase for the transformer for the superchargers is probably coming in on that pole there, and then coming into the transformer over here, likely underground. You can see the 3 PSUs right there. You can also see the Tesla wireways between the PSUs here. So that's the DC bus that connects each one of these. And then back here you have the transformer. If I don't trip on the curb, that's very clearly there. Here you have your metering cabinet, service disconnect. And we have 1,000 kVA transformer for this here. And they're using a different switchgear on the side of the cabinets than I typically see. So these are 600 amp disconnects. And there you can see, so 430 amps, 350 kVA, just in case anyone didn't realize that these are not 1,000 kilowatts, because they're simply not. They can just share between the buses, because you have the wireway there, and then you have the wireway over there, and that is the 575 kilowatt DC there. Slight change of plans. We're going to go to the Kinston, I think that is, charge point CP250 on the way out when we're headed to Wilson, rather than on the way in, because then we can take this route here. Just finished up in New Bern, and it's actually, the Rivian's pretty smart. It's routing us through that charger that I mentioned before on our way to Wilson, so let me show you. So we're headed there to Wilson, and it's gonna route us through this charger in Kinston, the same one that I showed you before. Don't need to charge there for 33 minutes, because we can get there, well, I don't know. I'm not sure which one we're gonna go to after that. We shall see. Let's get going. Just made it into Kinston, pulling up to the charger here shortly. This town has a crazy amount of street parking, if you're noticing, on the side of the road. Little optimistic, I think, considering all the businesses out of business here. But I don't know, maybe it gets popular in the summer, who really knows. So it looks like we have to go kind of a back way back to this charger. I don't really know, but got boarded up houses and stuff. Not the most appealing town, I'd say. Well, we're at 18%. We have, let's see how far to go, 55 miles to go. There is charging there, but I need to figure out which way we're going home back to Charlotte, all the way over here, because I don't have any other stops along the way. But let's get plugged in here. So we've got the 62.5 kilowatt DC fast charger here. Let's see if the free price was accurate. We love that. So let's activate that with my watch. Just like that, pretty slick. Yeah, this does actually look brand new, but man, these cables are tangled, so put the phone down. Got the cables untangled here. Open the charge port. I parked in this spot rather than this spot because I figured it'd be easier to get in and out of, and since the charge port's right there, we'll let that ramp up here. They also have a level 2 over here. Pretty nicely branded, I'd say. Let's see. Also free and 7 kilowatts, so not bad, I must say. The cable management is broken, as you can see there, so that's not ideal. But it's a single port unit and 7 kilowatt. Here they have the power panel. Must be at 240 volt if it's, yeah, 240 volt, because it's 7 kilowatt instead of the usual 6-ish on 208. Let's see what they got over here for the CP 250. So you can see the 3-phase coming down here. So they do have a 480 volt. Got a little CT cabinet, and then they have the panel there. So we should be ramped up. Let's see if we're getting full power. Call that close enough, 61 kilowatt, not bad. I'm going to figure out how long we need to sit here. Well, as much as I like free charging, we do need to make it to Wilson, ideally before sunset. So we're gonna actually use this after I make my stop in Wilson. And it's actually 28 cents a kilowatt hour. For some reason, I was thinking it was 68 cents a kilowatt hour, and that would have been crazy, but 28 is totally reasonable. So we'll go there, and then we'll charge enough to make it to wherever we'll actually fast charge to like 70-80% to make it back to Charlotte. Stop this here, see how long we charged. Charged for 17 minutes, added 17 kilowatt hours, so not bad at all. Well, we made it to Wilson. I was able to do my stuff before it got dark out, and 7% state of charge. So I think first order of business, we'll go over to the charge point CP 250s, basically across the interstate there. We'll charge up. I'll figure out the rest of my plan while we're there, because at a minimum we need to charge at least some before we can go to an actually fast charger. Got some Gatorade, got a Snickers, clearly dinner of champions. It's about 5:30 in the evening, and we still have I think like 200 miles to go, something like that, quite a few. Yeah, 208 miles to get home. Let's see if it adds, it doesn't even have a route. Okay, I guess it doesn't want to add chargers. Interesting. Anyway, let's head over to the Wilson charger. Made it to the Wilson charger. Looks like they did so much focus on making these chargers accessible that they actually made them not accessible to vehicles, because those cords are not long enough to reach a lot of vehicles. Like if I had an e-tron, or not, sorry, yeah, an e-tron or like a Mach-E or something, my charge port was here, that cable will not reach. I'm not even 100% sure if it will reach mine here. So let's try this. Should be 28 cents a kilowatt hour. I'll check in a second. Yeah, and I don't know how you're supposed to navigate if you're like mobility compromised with the cable down that. This doesn't really make sense. So got that plugged in, but you can see that barely reaches, and that's with the charge port right on the front of the car. So don't really know what they were thinking there. And it also looks like these aren't set up in paired configuration, which is pretty silly. So 62.5 kilowatt and 62.5 kilowatt. So they apparently do not have the DC bus between them that they should to enable the shared power between two units when only one is in use. It's the details that matter in EV charging. So it looks like we're getting full power. It's ramping up there. These will only do 156 amps, which should be enough current even at low pack voltage, but I'll check in a moment here. Well, this charger is just painfully slow. I mean, it's doing exactly what I'd expect, but it doesn't make it any faster. I looked on a better route planner. It looks like I should be able to make it here without problem. I mean, we have 66 miles estimated range. It's 48 miles to get there, so I'll just have to mind my speed a little bit. But at least that way, that's an actually fast charger, an Electrify America site. And yeah, I think I'm gonna move on here in just one moment, and I'm fine with rolling in with hardly any range. I mean, I do that all the time anyway. Well, we're at 25%. It's time to go. Let's see if this touchscreen actually works. Maybe. Stop charging on the Rivian app because that didn't work. Let's see what our final cost ends up being, but wow, that charge port, or this install is just kind of dumb. So $7.44, that's not unreasonable, but not exactly, actually, no, that's pretty cheap for DC fast charging. Not bad. It's just the Rivian that is really inefficient that makes that not go very far. So 25%, let's get going. We're at 7%. We've just arrived to the Electrify America. I think I'm gonna go over to the EV Go. That's very close by, luckily. And let me show you why. So there's a Bolt EUV waiting to charge right there. And then we have two ID4s doing ID4 things, like clogging up Electrify America chargers. That one's even a little smashed up, as you can see there. And of course, they're doing free charging. This one's been here for 35 minutes. Wow, that's really smashed up. This one is unavailable, because of course it is. And this one, let's see, 64 kilowatt at 32%, which is terrible. And they must be paying for it. Maybe they're the second owner for some reason. I don't know. But I think that Bolt EUV is waiting. So like I said, I'm gonna go over to EV Go. Well, I ended up talking to that Bolt EUV owner. Turns out he was so low that his vehicle was no longer showing estimated range. It was showing the dashes like Bolts do. And he could not make it to the EV Go. He didn't even know that it existed or that it would be the same speed for him, even though his vehicle tops out at 50 kilowatts. So always take the opportunity to educate when possible at charging stations. But yeah, he was not going to make it the 4-ish miles to this EV Go, but I am lucky that I have 6% and 18 miles of estimated range, and certainly can. And luckily it's a 350 kilowatt and 200 kilowatt unit install. But he was also telling me that this station is notorious for having one unit down and having a line pretty much constantly. So note for future to not count on this Electrify America in Cary, because it seems like it's just a hot mess. Well, we're currently charging at EVgo now. At least we're getting power, hopefully in theory. I just plugged in, so it's not done. It's not actually charging yet. So here we have the 200 kilowatt units. So they're capable of charging 2 vehicles at once each, but there's only 2 parking spots. So these are only 200 amps, so I'll probably only get like 80 kilowatts or so roughly. And then we have an Ioniq 5 and a Mach-E here. So they're at 67% and 35%. I actually do like how it does that screen there and shows you their charging speed. That's kind of nifty. Haven't seen that before. But 80 kilowatt fast-ish charging is really pretty terrible and need a lot of improvements, especially when I'm at 5% and I still have hours to go to get home. So hopefully this Ioniq is done soon. And actually what might be the worst part of this EVgo situation here is that they charge by the minute, regardless of the speed that you're charging at. So on this 100 kilowatt, 200 amp unit that I'm getting 74 kilowatts right now, I'm still paying the same 27 cents a minute. I think it's EVgo membership, or they have like 6 different plans. So I don't even remember which one I have, but it's a flat fee per month. It's like $6, I think. And then it puts a credit of that amount on your account. And then you don't pay a session fee, and I think it's a discounted per minute rate. But either way, otherwise I would have a session fee, so when I would switch over to the other unit when it becomes available, I'd have to pay that again, so that's terrible. And then I'm paying the same per minute rate on a slow charger as I would be on an actually fast charger. So on a kilowatt hour cost basis, there's a huge difference there, and that's really just terrible. I don't know why time-based billing is still a thing in 2022. Obviously some areas it's legally required, which that needs to change, but where it's not legally required, like North Carolina, it's not legally required to be by minute here. You can charge by kilowatt hour. It should not be a thing at all. And to make matters worse, the Ioniq 5 is currently at 90%, so that's very frustrating. Ioniq 5 is leaving. We've added 19 kilowatt hour roughly in 15 minutes, so we'll stop the charge there. And then we're gonna move over to the fast unit. These do some weird power distribution. Why is that? There we go. It's not fun to get out there. So hopefully we get at least like 150 kilowatt. That's really all I'm asking for at this point. And we're at 18% there. You can see there, 52 miles. Let's get plugged in here. Hopefully we get decent speeds. These bollards are not in a great spot for using the charger like this. And let me activate this. Activated it with my EVgo RFID card. Hopefully we get decent speeds. So what I was saying is that these units, let me see if it shows on the label here, if I can get it to show. So you can see here, it's 500 amps plus 200 amps, not 500 amps each, even though it is 175 plus 175. So we'll see here. Hopefully we don't get only 200 amps. In the moment of truth, see if it goes over like 80. Nope. Let's go home. I don't know if it will dynamically switch either, so let's see. Details. So they're still getting over 200 amps. So I don't know if it will dynamically switch which one is getting 200 and which one is getting 500. But I think the Mach-E sits at roughly 200 amps for quite a long time, which is really obnoxious. If I was a real asshole, I would stop their session and then just do mine and say I did it accidentally. So, but I'm not that asshole. But here we are, we're getting 200 amps, just like I was saying, max 200 there. Very, very annoying. You can see the Mach-E is still cranking along at 72 kilowatt, probably still getting barely over 200 amps, and I'm getting exactly 200 amps. Very, very annoying. Well, the Mach-E just finished charging, so let's see if this charging station is smart enough to reallocate power to give me full power. Should get 200 kilowatt or so. It's currently processing on the station there. Maybe it's not fully ended on there, but let's see how this goes. They added, they went up to 81% in 47 minutes. Oh, look at that. It is smart enough to reallocate power. So we're now getting full power. Hallelujah. I was pretty worried there because did not want to sit here for another hour and a half or longer. Let's see what we get at 33%. Now that we have a hopefully pretty decent pack, or decently warm pack. 211 kilowatt is totally acceptable. I can live with that. Well, I walked all the way to Trader Joe's, all the way on the far end of that. We're charged up now to 75% because Kaylee tasked me with wine, so had to make that happen. So we're going to stop charging because we have plenty of range to make it back. Let's see. Let's see what route it wants us to go. Okay, that makes sense. That should be pretty fast, but still, going to get home at like 11 p.m. Love that. And there we have 429 miles driven so far. So the first session that I charged on the slower charger, it was $4 and change for about 19 kilowatt hour. The second session was $12 and change for 80 kilowatt hours. So that tells you how dumb that pricing structure is. It's fine on a fast charger with a fast charging vehicle, but overall I think it's really dumb because it really is not fair and actually incentivizes network operators to have slow charging because then their profit is larger. But not going to go down that rabbit hole, but it could in theory incentivize that behavior. Well, essentially made it home. Just gonna get a car wash here, gotta spray off the bugs. We cut off a whopping half hour from the arrival estimate using the always handy flashlight to show you all the bugs up here. And going to spray some bug off, and then we'll run it through the touchless car wash. So mirrors, windshield, entire front end sprayed off. Gotta turn on car wash mode. That is in here. So you can see all the things it does there, the important things. And we'll pull into the car wash and we're at a whopping 6%. So really hoping I can charge it home. Always like to do a quick towel dry, at least on the glass. That way you don't get water spots. Because this dryer does not work that well. But luckily with PPF, I can just use a towel and not really care because it's not going to do micro scratches all over. You can see almost all the bugs are off, but they'll come right off with a quick wipe too. Well, certainly not perfect. Definitely going to have some watermarks, but better than covered in bugs at least. And we'll still be home roughly at the original ETA. Or actually, no, still good 20 minutes early. I ceramic coated the tonneau cover and that seemed to work pretty well. We'll see how it dries. And now we get the fun time of seeing if I can charge or if I have to go DC fast charge to be able to have it be at a comfortable state of charge to sit overnight. We're at 5%. Well, of course, one of the working spots is iced. Neither of those two work reliably. Well, that one unit, but the two ports. Because that one has been intermittent on starting and staying started for me. So let's go upstairs into the resident area and hope there's an open spot, but I'm not too hopeful at 10:35 at night on a weekday. Well, I guess miracles do happen. There were two spots open, so that spot there, the spot that I'm in now, kind of, hopefully, mostly. Not my greatest parking job, but I figured this way I can at least unload my stuff on the passenger side and just sneak out this side. Hopefully this person is gone before I am, and hopefully no one takes this spot between now and when I leave in the morning, but we shall see. Let's get plugged in and then we'll go over the stats. And we are plugged in, getting, as expected, 6 kilowatt. This is a 32 amp or 30 amp. I believe 32. It's at roughly 208 volts, sometimes even a little less, sometimes like 197 volt, pretty bad. I've seen that on some of the Teslas plugged in here, and I think I had, the Polestar could show voltage here. But there we have the joys of a gigantic battery, 22 hours estimated to charge to 100%. I'll just set that to 70 though. Let's see what that drops down to in just a moment. Let's look at the stats while that's dropping down. So we averaged 1.87 mile per kilowatt hour over 592.9 miles using over 300 kilowatt hour today and 10 hours driving. Today we also crossed over 5,000 kilowatt hour or 5 megawatt hour used since getting the vehicle. We're at 9,572 miles, so definitely going to be crossing 10,000 miles soon. Let's see what that dropped down to. So 16 hours, a little more reasonable. So I'll probably be leaving for work in about 10 hours roughly. So we'll see. I'll probably get up to like 50%. You guys won't be on the video then, but I'll probably be at like 50% by the time I leave for work. Maybe 45, I don't know. There's session summary. So adding to the battery there, it's working. That's always good. Well, thank you guys for joining me on this fairly eventful and uneventful at the same time day. Definitely had some challenges as far as charging and range and things like that go. Probably going to be going on to the Out of Spec podcast to talk about efficiency and why it matters or doesn't matter, as well as maybe some battery types and charging type stuff. So definitely check that out if you haven't. Anyway, comment down below, what do you think of my experience? A lot of people recommended that I watch Rich Rebuild's video. I know he actually did a pretty similar road trip to me. He went down from New Jersey down to like the eastern Outer Banks of North Carolina. So I think he had pretty similar rough experiences that I do. I think he even used the 68 cent a kilowatt hour charge point and had a crazy bill. But comment down below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You guys know the drill, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.